Next, we're going to be focusing on blockchain and social impact. And for our second panel session, please welcome our next speakers, our next panelists to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Alxandre, CEO of Jetcoin Institute. And of course, please welcome Duane Healey, the Managing Director of Merge Association. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite our moderator, Me, also known as Kimiko, the founder of Yellow Block. Thank you. Next, please give it up for Josef, the co-founder of Byzbit. Next, please give it up for Jeremy Go, the CEO of Supply Chain. So all the best to all the panelists, and I hope you guys have a fantastic time listening to our second panel session discussion. Thank you.
All right, everyone, I know you are like really hungry. And actually, like the first discussion is really interesting because it set the foundation for our second discussion. So the previous one, it was about economy evolution. And this one is actually more about like the humanity side of that, like the social evolution. What is the implications of new technologies like blockchain? What is on this good mean for the social impact? So I think that we can kick off this panel by the short introduction from each of the gentlemen here. So if you can share like in 1 minute about what your company and project is doing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. By the way, my name is Josef Caceres. You can call me Jeff in short, that's my nickname. I'm a co-founder and chief marketing officer of Byzbit, which is a tokenized paper mill factory in Ethiopia, but I'm from the Philippines. So our goal is to reduce deforestation and environmental harm, in which when we produce papers, most of the time we cut trees. But with our sophisticated, smart digital manufacturing, we convert agricultural waste instead and using the smart renewable energy to produce papers into jumbo rolls to be distributed to manufacturers and suppliers around the world. Okay, so our paper mill factory is currently under construction and it will be in operation in the late next year. Okay.
Hello, hey, thank you very much for having me, guys, and welcome to the show. My name is Duane Healey. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? A bit better. My name is Duane Healey. I'm from Merge Associates, and we are a consulting company out of Singapore. My introduction into blockchain was a few years ago, and it is all about the social impact and how I've seen it being able to change a lot of differences throughout the world, and that's basically brought me into this panel discussion today. Personally, I don't have a company that is a blockchain-related company, but we do a lot of networking and opening doors through different various networks and basically helping connect the ecosystem to build it as big as we can.
Hello, my name is Eric. I'm the founder of Jetcoin, a solution aimed at crowdfunding emerging talent in the field of sport entertainment. I also advise on My TV Chain, which is a solution to monetize amateur sport clubs across the world, currently deployed in 21 countries, and just signed with the French Olympic Committee to open 107 federations to support amateur sport and unknown sports. So we have social impact through sport and empowerment.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy. I'm from Singapore. My company is called World Food Chain. We registered both in Singapore and Malaysia. So what we do in our business is to bring about livestock, seafood, fruits, and vegetables from the farms, the food manufacturers directly to the wholesale market. That way, we are able to trace and track implement traceability on blockchain for all these farms, as well as to ensure the freshness and authenticity. So we have a lot of things to prove in today's world for food security, as well as the quality of food that's being transported around the world. So Food Chain is operating out of 7 countries, and if you have a farm or a food manufacturing plant, you can look for us to be partner with us, for us to be able to help you export your business or your products overseas. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your introductions, guys. So I am from Yellow Block. So actually, we were featured in Yahoo News and Business Insider as the first emerging technology connector for Vietnam and Southeast Asia. So basically, we are the gateway to empower like the connections between B2B, business to business solutions, and technology ecosystems, such as like the government agencies, the private sector, the public sector, and to the startup communities. So we are like the first organization that bring the concept of blockchain for sustainable development goals annual conference to Vietnam in association with UNDP, the United Nations, and we are also the representative of more than 100 partners globally in 40 different countries. So today, like to share the panel, I think that we can kick off by if you guys can give the definition in your own thinking. What is the definition? What is the role of technology in solving the social problems? And what kind of like new technologies like blockchain? What is the role for that? And what it enables?
So I think we can start with the transparency and the voting. I mean, today, we're not really, I believe on decentralizing everything, but I think we need people in power to make decisions. But I think we've been letting the people in charge as government and bank for too long, unaccountable and in charge. We vote for somebody, they do what they want. So today I think we have to change the system. We can keep the fundamental of our system, but we have to make it transparent. And today I would challenge any official in government, in banks, to put their wallet, to put all their decisions on the blockchain, visible, and put a vote to the community, or allow the community to vote to delegate their vote to specialists. I think blockchain will enable us actually to make our official and people we put in charge accountable for their mistake. When we talk about accountability, I think that's something blockchain needs to go through. So, but today we see like Jeremy on the food, we do it on sports. Bit by bit we'll come to the point like, yes, we can have custodian, we can have president or minister, but they need to be accountable and they need to give us full visibility on the action, the spending, and the decision to help and develop and empower the community.
Okay, so I suppose I'll touch back on when I actually got into cryptocurrencies and blockchain in early 2017. The main reason that I seen the change was basically being able to see governance. Voting systems was a big one for me. Looking at a company like Horizon State, them doing a decision and voting platform, and yeah, I mean basically from the beginning, from when I actually looked into the blockchain, and it took me a few months, I'm not a techie, it took me a few months to understand it, and then going through, having a look at the actual social impact and social sort of awareness that we could bring in, that we can actually change a lot of things that are going on in the world, like touching on Eric's point, you know, with the governance. I think this is something that's been going on for way too long. We put too much trust within them, and they don't give us that trust and transparency back. So yeah, I believe blockchain is definitely a massive use case for bringing trust and transparency back into our economy.
I agree with what you said about the using of blockchain for voting, in which in our country, of course, one of the problems that we have nowadays is, you know, the voting industry, in which of course the machines are always in error, people are complaining, you know, some sort of cheating or stuff. So there is one senator in the Philippines who is a blockchain advocate, who is pushing for blockchain-based voting in the Philippines, in which in all kinds of industry it provides transparency. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Right, so to understand a bit about how social impact truly is impacted. I'll speak from the perspective of farming and food manufacturing, how it's been transported out to countries that are importing, okay? So in the world, there's 560 million farms, all right? And out of that, 85%, which is 10 acres and below, are in Southeast Asia and China, right? So that's a lot of farms, a lot of people that are being hired in the farming world, and technology has to be implemented to help farmers. Now, the social impact is great because farmers face a lot of challenges from the weather, act of God, to even the way they sell the products. And if they don't sell it fast enough, they don't have cold storage, the produce is wasted. So, for an example, in India, last year, 47% of crops died. And that's wastage is incredible. Worldwide, we have an excess of wastage up to 1.2 trillion tons of food wastage every year. So this is incredible where we are trying to solve social impact. We got to look into how the way the trade is being implemented all these hundreds and thousands of years. So where food chain is concerned, we want to bring impact data to where it really matters. So where we started and how we started is creating not just an ecosystem through our app, but to link up the community. In order for your application to work or how blockchain to be implemented into the sectors that you're trying to implement those technology, you have to define the community, know who they are, bring them about, and convince them. So in our ecosystem, we brought about farms, 3PLs, logistic companies, cold chain companies, freight companies, government councils, as well as buying and trading individuals and entities into our system. So we started last year by identifying how livestock is being circulated in Southeast Asia, all right? So interestingly, in Singapore, recently we've approved Philippines as a place to import hogs from, all right? And hogs are taken from England, Belgium, and US to be grown in Philippines. So what we've done is we've gotten our own custom license, import of livestock license in Singapore and Malaysia to be able to export out from Philippines. But in order for us to do that, we've got to understand the pain points of what farmers and hog farms are going through. The hog and lifestyle farm, the GDP decreased from 4.8% to 1.1. So we want to make an impact by going in there, identifying the problems where these guys are, and helping them to export their markets by providing the solution where blockchain can impact them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think that this is a perfect showcase of the design thinking process of a founder, of startup founders. So it doesn't matter which kind of technology we use. I think that automatically all of the technology startups, either you use AI, blockchain, or other different kind of technologies, it's all about solving an existing problem and how we scale that up. And with blockchain, it's a new type of technology that enable us to empower more people, to bridge the gaps, and then to bring more solutions based on its characteristics, which Jeremy also share a lot with his use case. So I just want to introduce the concept of the Sustainable Development Goals if someone here is not familiar. So in 2015, the United Nations Assembly with 193 countries, they signed a memorandum of understanding that the world is now we are on the bridge of we have to change, or we are not going to have the chance to change anymore. And they defined the 17 Sustainable Development Goals with different metrics points, from no poverty, no hunger, to good health and well-being and equality. And this all comes down to the boilerplate of being empowered and being scaled, to be able to step up and to have the freedom, to have the affordable inclusivity to everyone. So I think that maybe now it comes to the question of, for example, Josef, if you could share with us why you started the paper mills on blockchain. So you had the existing business solution, or you came up first with you see the problems in the society, and what is the drivers behind you starting up?
Okay, so I would like to share two problems that are experiencing nowadays. The first one is deforestation, and the second is waste management. So let's start first with deforestation. Of course, you cannot stop deforestation right now because because these people right here, they are building infrastructures, buildings, and trees are being used to produce palm oil, papers, and the other stuff. And of course, when it comes to deforestation, 80% of the plants and animals are affected. So the environmental effects of deforestation is the loss of habitat, the greenhouse gases, the water in the atmosphere, soil erosion, flooding, and of course the eviction of some tribes out there, in which there are some people who are still living in the forest or in the jungle, so they are affected. Because of deforestation, of course, the plants and animals are highly affected due to the temperature swings. So the second problem right now is the waste management. Of course, we all know that there are lots of waste being thrown out there. More people still, they don't manage their waste very well. They throw it in the water. They throw it anywhere. And as a result, people are, the health of the people are highly affected. Okay, so especially in those areas with in which their houses are near the garbage dumps or so. Okay, so how
Joseph, maybe like a more specific question is that how are you using the blockchain technology in your current startup, and also like what make it like not accessible before, like with different technology, and now blockchain can bridge that?
Okay, so when it comes to blockchain technology in implementing our paper mill, so it is used as a supply chain because we are turning from traditional into sophisticated, smart digital manufacturing. And of course, we are using the sophisticated the disruptive blockchain technology, of course, to use in the ecosystem when it comes to manufacturing, then supplying, distributing to suppliers around the world. So it acts as our supply chain. And of course, we have our own token in which we could use it in our upcoming digital marketplace where investors, merchants, and suppliers are connected in one platform, in which our marketplace will be coming soon. More details about that later on. And the reason why we could potentially reduce environmental harm and deforestation as well as waste management is because instead of cutting down trees to produce papers, we use agricultural waste and smart renewable energy to produce them into jumbo rolls and to distribute them into manufacturers, suppliers around the world with the blockchain technology. Yes.
Okay, that's very interesting solution for the waste management and also
Yes.
to save up. What about you, Eric? Because I think that is very interesting that people might say that you work for entertainment industry.
Yeah, more or less, yes.
So how are you saving the world?
So for us now, we're saving everyone. So the way we started, I mean, from my background in advertising, filmmaking, production, we always deal with new talents in different areas, and I think the problem was the same each time. We have agencies, and talent are not really fairly. Whether it's in sport, entertainment is the same. Those are centralized system with powerful players in place. So we decided, and we came across back in 2013, we were looking at sponsorship for soccer players, and we find out there were 2 or 3 funds around the world who are actually sponsoring talent. One of them is a bank with Roger Federer, the Swiss bank. So okay, it was good for them, good investment. It was real to approach. So we're thinking, let's do crowdfunding like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and we start looking at the blockchain. So there were 2 challenges we faced. We faced with blockchain, we can actually set up a solution, a crowdfunding solution using token to monetize the talent and to support the emerging talent. So we're not talking about superstar, we're talking about emerging talent at being of a career about to take off. We find that in that space, when you don't have the economic supports, basically you can fail, you have downtime, and the agency will disregard you, they ditch you. There's so many people line up. So building a community of supporter and crowdfunding the career of the talent created like a different ecosystem and a healthy system, because the talent are not alone anymore. They have a team, and somehow we allow the fan and the people around the talent to participate in a meaningful way of the journey of the talent. So now you're not just a witness of a superstar, you're part of the making. And I think that will link to something interesting. We talk about accountability, but all of a sudden your talent, you have a fan base. We see it already with influencer misbehaving, like that girl was beating a dog, right, on YouTube, and all of a sudden people turn. But now we have full accountability and visibility. So that's where we start. But what we start facing for us, we realize, well, but I think the main challenge when you implement blockchain in your company, or you create a new blockchain solution, you have to think economics. It's not only building a business anymore with a target audience and a strategy. You have to think, what are my token economics? How I'm going to nurture the economics? Because all of a sudden you're thinking, I need to list my token on few exchange. How do I keep the exchange floating? What's my liquidity? So you have to be able to resolve your business model and how you're going to link it to actually an exchange platform to create demand and value for the trader and the speculator to, okay, I like this project, I want to support it. So you have your supporter based on the project itself. They like the idea, they like what you're proposing as a solution, but then as a founder or as a team, you have to think how I'm going to make sure this is viable as well as a token, and I keep it afloat or interact with other projects. And I think that's one of the challenges. We say blockchain, nobody thinks. Today we say blockchain, people say crypto. Yes, 90% of the case, we think blockchain solution linked to some form of creation of a token. We have blockchain implementation where we don't need token at all, actually in logistic, in food chain as well if you want to, because you use it for transparency. There's blockchain solution in refugee camp. We use the iris of the refugee to shop at the supermarket of the camp, and they have digital identity. There's a Tangem card now in Bangladesh, we're giving a Tangem card to kids at school to have digital identity. So blockchain is coming in our life bit by bit. And I feel for us, we do sport, entertainment, education, but I feel still the challenge is to understand that new economy is emerging, and it is challenging for everyone, how you manage it at the personal level and at the growth level as a business, how you make it sustainable.
Yeah, so even we talk with like the 3 different staff, we can see that even though they work in different industry, but the common keyword that I hear is about empowerment that we can never have before, and the scalability. So for example, with the Jetcoin, actually you can run that with the centralized system, but with the blockchain, it's then become like the automatic decentralized. You can like define only monetization that come from the superstar when they became the superstar, and then basically you empower not only the emerging players but also different ecosystem stakeholders in that ecosystem. So that's very interesting. And may I ask the question to merge association, because Duane himself, he come from the fintech industry, and then like now when he came to me, he said I specifically want to seek out to support the startup or the blockchain projects that is basically like focusing on solving real social problem and business application. I'm not interested here to make the money, but how to like scale up the impacts.
Yeah, I think I'll go back to a little bit about our conversation when we spoke about it. My background isn't very techie, as I mentioned before. My education finished in year 10. Everything that I taught myself was self-taught and through passion. I basically see social impact as a massive, massive problem that we have in our lives today, and it won't be solved if we don't do anything. So I think with blockchain and with companies like Jeremy's, I mean a lot of companies that I see around, Earth Ledger, that's a great little project as well. And also, I mean, yeah, I think just coming back to that whole systematic approach, what I seen when I actually understood blockchain and the cryptocurrency space was that you could change things like voting, like what I mentioned before with Horizon State, and that could be massive for a change of an economy and a change of an impact of a country. I think they actually already ran a program in Indonesia, which would be interesting to see how that turned out. But yeah, so I think just coming back to just seeing social impact of how we can change it by getting together and having one voice. I love helping out with partnerships. So if I see 2 different companies that are in 2 different realms, one being in fintech and one being in blockchain, I see blockchain as that vertical to be able to bridge that gap, and yeah, just having the sustainability element is one thing that I'm really passionate about.
I I think we should demyth the fact that like when people mention, like most of the mass public, when they mention about blockchain and about transaction, when we talk about the word transaction, automatically people think about financial transaction. Like I sent you the money and you said to me, that's a transaction. But actually on the blockchain, that's a transaction of information. And like the information, it might be like so one case study when we work with UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, actually they have one function that specifically seek out for new applications of emerging technologies like AI and blockchain, and they already did the pilot programs in India and various like Asian countries. So they put the land records on the blockchain, the land support, and also the charity that and the grants. They manage the grant. They pilot the demo, and then to showcase that actually, like I think now 40% of the bank, they already tried this pilot test, and they most of the time they already did this transaction without us knowing that they don't have even the tokens, right? There's a token in the system as the fuel of the system, but not necessarily the cryptocurrency. So I think that the myth here is that maybe people, when they look at blockchain, they just hear from one side.
Yeah, I think blockchain have many vertical and many possibility in many industry. I mean, we talked earlier on the panel talk about digital identity or digital trace, right? We saw the way Cambridge Analytica in the UK was able to influence an election or the Brexit using our digital content or digital trace online. With blockchain, we can regain control of our digital identity and be able to monetize it if we want to and to actually use it, but we can push it forward. I think ultimately, we're all okay to pay taxes if we know what is done and how it's been done with, and to be automated. We took the sample of Greece. I was involved in 2015 with Brian Healey from BK Capital. They're trying a proof of concept on a small island to tokenize the island on the blockchain, because we found out the Greek people are the best at evading taxes. That's why Greece was so down under with their government and couldn't sustain their economy. So we were trying with an island, and we find out, yeah, with blockchain, you can actually automate the tax, follow the tax payment where it goes, and have the community supporting it. I think what we're seeing today, I mean, as a project founder and other founder who have the same thing, we are accountable. We have group, we have community checking us out all the time. If we do something wrong, they will tell us, guys, don't do this. Or we ask the community sometimes, what would you like to do? So we open the conversation in both sides.
Yeah, I think we are kind of run out of time. Do we have time for like a few questions? Yeah. So for example, like if maybe like let's end the discussion and then we'll open for the Q&A. So if each one of you give an advice to the entrepreneur, the staff founders out there who want to like explore the options of blockchain, what would be your advice to them?
Oh, okay. For my advice regarding the young entrepreneurs to explore blockchain, if I'm going to choose between for the business or the social impact, as much as I respect the business side, I would rather choose the social impact, because of course money would be there, you know. But the one thing that we really care right now is how our projects, how our businesses could impact the society.
Try and do everything yourself, partner up with someone who's in your industry of expertise, work with them, seek advice through either associations or through partnerships, and then start looking at your actual product planning. If you don't plan, you're going to fail. That's the reality. So blockchain, it's here to stay, so embrace it, and I hope you enjoy this journey.
Okay, so basically you mean that the train is going already, so whether you get on or you follow later. So I think that we have time for one last question before the lunch time.
One question from the audience,
yeah, you can always like connect with us to ask more questions.
So, any question in the audience? I saw some hand earlier on.
Yeah, so one question per day. Yeah.
Hi. Working, yeah. So it's kind of a question with a bit of a follow-up quickly. I think we all agree that in order to find a middle point where the solution is actually reached out, you need to have a number of conflicting or pushing sectors that are going to be bringing the conversation with different perspectives. So the quick question is, all the members of the panel right now, you all work for corporations, right? So for private companies.
Not corporation.
Private companies.
From different...
For-profit companies, right?
We register somewhere, yeah, but we're floating on cyberspace, most of us. We have 18 in our team, none of them on the same place at the same time. We don't consider ourselves as a corporation, or we had to be incorporated, of course, because we're tax accountable, but we operate in so many markets, it's actually hard to keep track with it. But yes.
Yeah, because I'm sort of missing any representative of civil society in the panel itself. That is my impression as a public.
So sorry. So for Yellow Blocks, we are the connector. So actually, I came from the private sector before, and I also work in the public sector. So what we do is actually bridging the gap, the languages between the private sector, public sector, startup sector, and also like the upcoming tech communities and so on. But basically, everyone here, we at some point in our life, we work in corporates before, but now I think most of us
have
our solution.
I never did work for a corporation. I work with them, but never for anyone.
Okay.
And I don't intend to.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jason. I'm from Bitcoin Malaysia. I just have one question for this panel because you're talking about blockchain and social impact. There are about 168,000 refugees in KL alone. Okay, and I like what Jeremy says, okay, that look what's already available. They are without identities and they are constantly harassed because they cannot get jobs, proper jobs. Are there any blockchain solutions that we can bring to them already that you know about? I'd like to ask this to the panel.
Yes, there's the Tangem project. I can introduce you to the founder. He's based in Singapore. So Tangem is actually a card, I can show it to you, with NFC. And now they use it in Bangladesh and the refugee camp to give digital identity to everyone. And also in a camp, all the schools know the kids have a card with digital identity on it when they follow classes and modules. So yes, there's a solution on the blockchain today who exists to give digital identity to refugees.
Thank you, Eric.
I think that we ran out of the time, so the panel will be like in the lunch time with everyone. So like if you want to reach out to us for more questions, please do, and have a nice lunch.
Thank you. Testing. Thank you so much to our panelists and our moderators. Well, right now, as you guys should know, we're going to take a very short break. Apparently, we're going to move our third panel session discussion after our lunch break. So please, ladies and gentlemen, you may leave the hall and go to our lunch area, which is